Let's keep this short and sweet. Season 4 version 5 just dropped sometime in August of 2022. They've introduced a new wall mechanic called Wall Crush, and Hwoarang's Wall Crush is on his 14-frame Punisher, Flashing Trident. Now, of course, while that may be the only change in Hwoarang's patch notes, as it is one line, there are technically other lines below that, as every other character in the game did receive a Wall Crush, and some nerfs and buffs in between. So Hwoarang Season 4 version 5 matchup changes will be dropping next week after this video goes live, so feel free to subscribe to that. Now, back onto, this. Well, not that one. This one. So since it's, plus 17 at the wall, basically a guaranteed mix-up. You can easily check them with a DF1+2 and F1+2, DF4, down 3-4. I mean, the possibilities are pretty much endless. There's just a few things you have to keep note of. Is that number one, your opponent technically recovers crouching. I know it says standing there for the opposing Hwoarang, so I recorded an option where it's jab into up forward 3+4, and then the opposing Hwoarang does nothing. My command history is on, as you've seen previously, and you'll see me recover in crouching as while standing 4-4 pops up. That's important. That's important to keep note of. So your opponent can easily high crush an option. So if you do a jab right after up forward 3+4-4, you will lose since they're already recovering crouching. So that means your main options are to go for a mid or a low mix-up. And if you go for a low, I believe this is down 3-4, your opponent also cannot low parry in this situation. I'm already recovering crouching, and I'm just going to hold DF, and I can't low parry that. Nor can I low crush that. So I'm going to use orbital heal. Hwoarang's orbital heal doesn't connect. What's other Hwoarang low crush options? Up 4, no connect. What about Hwoarang up back 4? Although there's no space at all to do it. As you can see, you can't low parry or low crush. However, you can low block. So if you go for down 3-4 and they duck, they're gonna punish that, no problem. So that's just something to keep in mind. The third thing is that not all mids will give you the results you desire. So F1+2 is a pretty good option, right? I would go for it as well in this situation. So I'm gonna mash. There's no counter hit. That's a shame. What about DF4? That wall splats on counter hit, right? Start it up. Mash. There's none. So which means you now have to use mids that are not F1+2 and DF4. And that requires a little bit of execution. So that'd be mids like JFSR, CD3, or transitioning into RFF back 2 or RFF DF4. Here I have CD3 recorded at its fastest. And I'm going to be mashing while standing 4 as the opponent. And Hwoarang typically always wins in this situation, even if that is a down jab. So down jab, win. But that requires a lot of execution. That's not easy to do if you really want to keep your opponent in check. So this wall crush is not necessarily friendly. You could still do stuff like DF1-3, up 4, that's pretty good. Again, you just gotta lab it all out. But CD3 is probably your best option. The next best option is the RFF ones I was talking about. So I'm gonna record Hwoarang doing it here. Hopefully I can get it done in one shot. So up forward 3+4. If your opponent presses in between, if I was fast enough, that should even beat a down jab. Oh no, I was slow. So which means this only beats while standing 4. No, it trades with while standing 4. I'm too slow. You see how difficult this is? You really have to get it on point. Was that faster? So in a real match, you may not get it. See, right now you better start practicing how your execution. See, so I got it there on the second try. I'm not sure if you'll be able to get it on the second try in practice mode. Again, the lab will never leave you. So just continue practicing it there. So RFF DF4 is your best option now at the wall. The other options you could do after the wall crush is RFF back 2. That's about it. Those are my main recommended options. Now let's talk about Flashing Trident without the wall. Again, now this move is +8 on hit with pushback. Again, if I change this to backdash and attempt to catch it with F1+2, which you could do before at +4. Again, you just have to watch out for opponents interrupting with an 11 or 10 frame move. Here, that will no longer happen. What you have to worry about is getting whiff punished now. So opponents who are backdashing in this situation, DF4 will catch them. DF3 will do the same. And so would down back 3. And you can get creative with it. You can do instant while standing 3, like so. You can use Waivu movement to keep them in check. You can do Flamingo, either left or right. And if you have Rage, all the better. That way they don't press. Or you can dash up into RFF, DF3, back to whatever you like, or hop back. The choice is really yours. You play it by ear depending on how your opponent is playing. But Frontier, I saw a tweet, that Zafina was avoiding Hwoarang DF4. Yes, against characters who have a really strong backdash, that option no longer exists, including down back 3. But what if I told you, out of those 3 options, one option still exists? Yes, if you do it by process of elimination, that move would be LFF/LFS DF3. So again, we're swapping over to Zafina here. That's on backdash, flashing trident. And guess what? It keeps the opponent in check. Now, of course, this is a little bit of a risk, as the move is a power crush, so they can attempt to... Well, their best option is really to jab. But if they want to attempt to grab while you're in power crush, again, you can't tech throws when you're in a power crush state. The moment the power crush is fully activated, somewhere at the early parts, you can still tech. But if it's like somewhere later, that's it. And if they, do a low, immediately you will lose. Now, I didn't talk about this earlier. Of course, again, since it's +8, they're not really stepping a lot of stuff. But of course, shorter moves like 1-2, DF1+2, F1+2, all that whiff because of this pushback. So again, the season 4, the whole Hwoarang master tracking sheet has been updated. Links in the description below. So yeah, you just check with the DF3. Again, you can hit confirm this somewhat. I always miss the hit confirm, but if you have it, beautiful. You can just gather information with it throughout the whole thing. Maybe they'll throw out their 14 frame punish, then throw out the first one to check, and then, once they're really waiting to punish it, you can throw out flashing trident and then cancel it, and then now you have a flamingo mix up in front of their face. So you really have to play around with it, but that's the main risk, as this is the only option that really checks. FF4, FF3, JFSR, CD3, they all lose to, steps. So if I do sidestep left into FF4, that loses. Sidestep into FF3, that technically loses. Into CD3, that loses. And to JFSR, that loses. So you shouldn't focus on being really greedy to continue pressure. Much rather, you're just there to really keep them in check and to play around with the negative frames at -4 on hit. So how does this move work in a walled stage in particular? So let's say you get a short whiff punish or a 14 frame punish with a 43+4. You get to push them towards the wall. Much more added if they go for the best option to deny Hwoarang pressure and a backdash. And you add it with movement, you're pushing them closer and closer towards the wall. If let's say your back is behind the wall for whatever reason, and they throw out something that's -14, you throw that out and then you're free to go. You have space. Now, what if you're in a wall-less stage, right? And you get this Punisher? Well, for the most part, you just reset back to neutral. That's about it. You gain space. And you get the 30 damage. Yeah, not really that amazing. So what do you think about this change? Was it good for Hwoarang? Was it bad? For the most part, a lot of players agree that it doesn't really change Hwoarang as much. You just lose another situation that you could potentially mix up your opponent. Of course, you get the big mix-up if you're at the wall, right? Again, 17, and then you watch out for the 3 stuff I mentioned earlier, and you're good to go. But yeah, that covers the Season 4 version 5 change in Flashing Trident for Hwoarang, the new wall crush mechanic. Again, I've been Frontier, and that's been the cheese for today. Again, as always, thank you for watching. Our -14. -14. -14. So basically, if you're fighting any other character who has a really strong 14 frame punish, Law, the Mishimas, Josie, etc., just know you're putting yourself at risk.